Today we're going to talk about the future progressive tense. If you remember, yesterday we talked about that we can use the present progressive tense to talk about something that we're doing in the future. But today we're going to talk about the way you can let somebody know that you are definitely talking about the future when you're using the progressive tense or a verb that ends in ing. So we know that the progressive tense can be used in the past tense by saying I was walking to the store. That's past. The present is I am walking to the store. So instead of saying was, we say am. I am. Or you would say you are walking to the store. You were walking to the store. We also know that when we say I am walking to the store, that can mean present or past. It depends on what people are talking about, right? Like somebody could ask you, what are your plans tomorrow? You could say, I am walking to the store. And even though you used the present tense, because they asked you what you will do tomorrow or what you are going to do, you can say, I am walking, because they know that you're talking about they've said that it's the future, so they know you're talking about the future. So that's why you can use this in the future, because it's something you are planning on doing in the near future, meaning tomorrow, in an hour, very soon. So that's why you can use the present to talk about the future. But sometimes it can be confusing if you're talking about the present or the future. So that's why we can use the future progressive tense to talk about the future. And it doesn't get confused with the present because it's a different way to make it. I will be walking to the store. So why do I need to use the future progressive tense? It's a good question. So you could say, we are taking the bus tomorrow. Or you could say, we will be taking the bus tomorrow. If somebody asked, how are you getting to work tomorrow? And you said, we are taking the bus tomorrow. Or if you said, we will be taking the bus tomorrow, there wouldn't be really a big difference between the two. The person listening would know that because they asked you that question, they know that you said, we are taking the bus tomorrow, means that you are talking about the future because they asked you about tomorrow, and we used the word tomorrow in the sentence, so it's not confusing. And this one, we know we're talking about tomorrow because we said tomorrow and we said will be. But sometimes in English, when we're talking, it can be confusing if we use the present progressive to talk about the future. So if somebody asked, where will you be at 2? Meaning, where will you be at 2 o'clock? And if you said, I am eating lunch in the cafeteria, that would be confusing. Because if you answered with that, they would be a little bit confused because they would be like, you are eating lunch right now in the cafeteria, but you're talking to me, and I asked you about 2. Where are you going to be at 2? But if we said, I will be eating lunch in the cafeteria, it lets them know that you are talking about the future. When it is 2 o'clock, you will also be in the cafeteria doing something when it is 2 o'clock, when 2 o'clock happens. So this is how you make the future progressive tense. You need to use, just like all the other tenses we've practiced, you need a subject or who or what you are talking about. You can use I, you, she, he, it, we, they, right? I means yourself. We call that first person. You means it's second person. You is the other person and it's one of them. She, he, or it. He and she are other people and there's only one of them. It is a thing that isn't alive. And we is multiple people, it's plural, but it includes you, yourself, who you are. And they is a lot of people, but it's other people that are not you or somebody that you're talking with. Your they is other people, right? So you can pick one of these, or instead of saying he or she, you can use somebody's name. Or instead of saying it, you could say the bus. Or if you said we, me, and my friends, you could use that. Or they, my boss, and my coworkers. That would be they, right? So you can do any of those, and then you need will be. You need these together, and then after will be, you need to use a verb in the present tense, but then put it an ing at the end, an ing sound. So for example, I will be, the verb is drive, so we change it to driving. I will be driving to work. That's how we make the future progressive tense. Another one is we will be, we add the will be, and then the next we have to change the verb to have an ing. So we just put ing at the end, eating, eating. We will be eating dinner. So that's how you make the future progressive tense. So you need to remember to use will and be together, and you don't need to change it when you say I or he or she or you or they. You don't need to change the word be. It can just stay the same. So for example, if you said I will walking in the rain, that one is going to be incorrect because you used ing, the progressive, and will. You forgot to put the be. So you need to say I will be walking in the rain. Now you could just say, instead of saying walking, if you just said walk, I will walk in the rain, that's correct. That's talking about the future, right? But if you want to use the progressive tense, meaning this ing verb right here, when you say walk and then put an ing at the end, or any other kind of verb that has a ing sound at the end, you need to make sure that you have will be. I will be walking in the rain. So we're going to do some practice. So up here I have some verbs, make, try, and drive. And we need to put the right verb in this space right here. And we need to change the verb so it works with the future progressive tense, will be, right? So this sentence says, you will be something home. So we know that we need to add an ing sound at the end. Making, trying, driving. So which do you think would make the most sense in this first sentence? You will be driving home. You will be driving home, right? Because driving is in your car, right? You will be driving home. You will be going home. You couldn't say you will be making home, because making home doesn't really make sense. That would mean that you were building your house. If you said you will be trying home, that doesn't really make sense either. My brother will be dinner. Now, we know that you could probably use making or trying dinner, but he's probably going to be making dinner. My brother will be making dinner. I will be, the last one we have is trying to clean the operation room. I will be trying to clean the operation room. So in all of these sentences, the important thing to remember is you need will be, and then you need to put ing at the end of the verb. That's what you need to focus on to make the future progressive tense. So I am going to talk about why we use future progressive tense, because we know that you could use the present progressive and you can talk about the future, or we also know that you can talk about the future by saying will or going to. I am going to the store. I will go to the store. So somebody asks you, how will you get to work tomorrow? You could say, I will take the bus tomorrow. Or you could say, I will be taking the bus tomorrow. Both of those make sense, and there isn't really a difference between the two. But this is why it's important. You could say, when you call tomorrow, I will take the bus. So you'll see in this sentence, instead of saying will be, it just says will. So it's only talking about the future. In this sentence, it says will be and has the ing. So when you read this sentence, when you call tomorrow, I will take the bus. This makes it sound like when the person calls them on the phone, that means they will leave and they will take the bus. They are going to get on the bus when the person calls. But when you say, when you call tomorrow, I will be taking the bus, it means that the person is taking the bus when this happens, when this first part happens. So when they get the phone call, they will be on the bus continuously, meaning they are going to be on the bus and it's going to keep happening when they call them. So I will be taking the bus when you call tomorrow, or when you call tomorrow, I will be taking the bus. We use will be to talk about an action that continues when something else is happening. So it's two things are happening. And we use it to talk about two things that will happen. So two things that happen in the future at the same time. Or one interrupts the other. Or one happens and the other thing stops. That's when we use will be. And then the ing, the future progressive. So, for example, I'll show you why you can use it or how you can use it. So, if you look out your window at nighttime and you see that there's a lot of snow outside, you could say, I will be driving in the snow tomorrow. If you said, I will drive in the snow tomorrow, or I am driving in the snow tomorrow, it means that you are going to try to drive in the snow. But if you said, I will be driving in the snow, it means that when you drive to work in the morning, it means that there's going to be snow in the street. So those two things are happening at the same time in the future. So another example you can use to show you that I will use to show you when to use this is a lot of times if you say a sentence in English or someone says a sentence in English and they start with when this happens, this happens. That's why we use will be, because it's talking about two things happening at the same time. So, for example, this person's on the phone and she says, when Mary gets to my house, I will be cooking dinner. She will need to ring the doorbell. So you'll see that this person, she isn't cooking dinner right now, but she's saying in the future, right? But she's also talking about something else that happens when Mary gets to my house. So Mary is going to go to her house, and when she gets there, when Mary gets to the house, she will be cooking dinner. Cooking dinner. So it's something that she's doing. It's continuous, right? She will be cooking. She'll keep cooking when Mary gets to the house. So it's two things happening at once in the future at the same time. So the next part says she will need to ring the doorbell. So I put this sentence here to show you that you can use the difference between will and will be, because she will need to ring the doorbell is saying something that needs to happen in the future. It's talking about something that will happen in the future. It's something that will happen after right now. When you say will be, it's talking about a very specific time in the future. It's talking about when something else happens at the same time as another thing in the future. And that's why they're different. You don't use it a lot in English. You don't use will be, but you can use it in a lot of times or instances when you're talking about two things happening at the same time in the future. So when I retire, I will be 65 or I will be 75. So it's saying that when in the future you retire, you will also be another age. You will be a specific age. So it's two things that are happening at one time in the future. So that's it for today. Let me know if you have any questions.